Welcome, everyone. My name is Kelsey Reardon, and I am with the Maine SBDC State Office, hosted by USM right in Portland. And today we have a very special webinar hosted by Jenny Green of Fisher Green Creative. And we've been so lucky to have Jenny and a few other special consultants over the last 2 years, and they've been meeting with our advisors and our clients and giving some really great one-on-one marketing advice that we are sad that we are coming to the end of that programming. So definitely if this is the first time that you're encountering Jenny Green, follow her everywhere. She's super helpful. This is going to be a great webinar. There's a couple other webinars that she's already hosted for us that are on our YouTube channel. So if you find this helpful, definitely check those out. If you are not familiar with the Maine SBDC, we are the Small Business Development Centers, and we are a no-cost, confidential business advising program. So we have centers throughout the state and advisors in each center. So generally, we are location-based, but we are still doing many things virtually. So our advisors are able to help you kind of no matter where you are in the state. So if you are not already set up with a business advisor, we highly recommend it. I'll be sending out a follow-up email this afternoon that will include the presentation and a link to the recording and all of our contact information. So it'll be an easy link to set up advising. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can always respond to any email you've ever gotten from me, which is probably already quite a few, and it'll end up in the same place. So feel free to reach out at any point. If you have questions today, go ahead and put them in the chat below. We'll have time at the end to answer all of those questions. We would also love to hear a little bit about you. So maybe let us know where in the state you're located. If you have a business or you have a social media platform that you're focused on, go ahead and share that. This is a great networking opportunity as well as a learning opportunity. And so we're here to help with just about anything your small business could need. If we can't answer your questions, we can certainly find someone who can answer your questions. And so today we're focused on holiday prep. So social media marketing for the holidays. I know it's only mid-September, but it's time to come up with a marketing plan for the next few months. So hopefully Jenny will leave you with a couple good takeaways and you'll be ahead of the game instead of, my last minute posts that are like, Merry Christmas, it's tomorrow. We want to make sure you guys are fully covered. So I see some people are introducing themselves in the chat already. Thank you so much for each of those. Welcome. And like I said, any questions you have along, stick those in the chat. We'll get to them. But otherwise, I think we're all ready to get started. So I'll pass it over to Jenny.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kelsey. It is so great to be here. Thank you for your time today. I hope to cover some helpful tips and tricks when it comes to holiday marketing on social media. Fortunately, we're not just going to be focusing on social media, but maybe your whole digital landscape. So you'll get some pieces whether you're on social media already or not. So we're going to do a little bit of everything today. So let's go ahead and dive in. This is an outline of today's presentations. We're going to talk about getting to know your shoppers, talking about picking your holidays, confirming the channels, some housekeeping items, developing your holiday messaging, and how to plan ahead. So when it comes to marketing this holiday season, one thing that's daunting is, are people spending? And yes, the projections are up. People are going to be buying, and it's right now we're projecting in the marketing industry a 4 to 6% increase in sales. So this is good news if you're in the retail world, or if you have a product or service that you're offering this holiday. The current landscape, one thing that we get a lot is how is inflation and the pandemic, hitting the holidays this year? And it's still a little bit of a guessing game. However, we're finding and seeing, and the projections indicate that if retailers can align themselves with their customer base and really understand their demands and or offer convenient and affordable options, you're going to do just great this season. So on that note, how do you know what their demands are? How do you understand what it is that they want so that you can be successful? It's all about knowing your shoppers. And there's two things I want you to think about. There's demographics and there's behaviors. So as an established business by now, you should have a pretty good sense of who your customer base is. And this would be based on age, income, location, education, gender. There's all kinds of demographics that you would consider when developing your audience segments, as we call them. So the people that you're marketing to, the people that are buying your products or services, that client base has some very specific details that identify them. The other piece is the behaviors. So what are your shoppers doing? What is it that motivates them and drives them to make purchases? And during the holiday season, there's actually some really interesting differences in the way that they act. And so I want to just talk about this. This is really fascinating. So there's a few different types of mentalities. So no matter what your demographic is, you've got your doorbuster shopper. May the best deals win. The people that are coming in, they just want that discount. You have your online shopper. They research and find gift inspiration online and purchase items without even leaving home. You have the shopping connoisseur. They want to see, taste, touch, and feel their shopping experience. You have the do-it-yourself consumer. They're adding their own touch. It's an important holiday tradition for them to be hands-on with the gift shopping and the gift purchasing. The artisan enthusiast, handmade or local purchases are a source of pride. You have the conscious consumer, where they want to know that their shopping is making a difference. You have the holiday overachiever. Don't worry, they've got everything already done, planned, and their list might even be complete by now. You have the last minute shopper, the one who at the very last second is buying that gift because they forgot, or more likely they just procrastinated. And then you have the holiday entertainer. It is the season to party. And so if you think about these different behaviors, there's reasons that drive these mentalities, and it's because they want to accomplish something. They're either giving gifts, they're hosting holiday parties, they're buying clothing, costumes, food and beverages, stocking stuffers, ornament exchanges, holiday decor. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's all kinds of motivations right now that create these shopping behaviors and mentalities. And so as a business, it's really important to identify which of these shopping behaviors and which of these motivations are really important to your client base. And it could be that you maybe even identified yourself in some of these behaviors. I know for me that I'm a mix between the overachiever and actually the procrastinator, because I either do it all or nothing. So if you think about that behavior, I'm going to align myself with brands that can meet both of those needs. So it's not an all or nothing, but it's understanding which angles might resonate most with your particular audience segment. So as you think about those behaviors, and we're going to come back to those shopping personas, so to speak, in just a minute, think about how they're going to interact with your brand. Think about their approach to shopping and the reason for shopping. What role does your product or service play in this exchange? This will help you plan out your flow of content, think about things that you need to make sure you're sharing, and give you ideas to provide value to the social media space. Before we go into a little bit more of the messaging and the nitty-gritty of those recommendations, let's talk about picking your holidays. The holiday season typically is considered from November to January. However, we're going to throw Halloween in there today because I think that that is still a pretty significant holiday in some shopping circles. So let's just kind of review. Remember that there are a lot more than most businesses remember and plan for. So sometimes we often think, oh, it's just the Christmas holidays or it's just Thanksgiving. But there are a lot more sprinkled in between the end of October and the end of January. So as you look at these dates and think about them, one of the key things is to think about how they align with your brand and your mission. So let's just say that you are a religious organization. It may be that Halloween does not align with your customer base, client base, if that's something that goes against that particular religion. Things to think about. So then in that case, you maybe skip over that holiday, and that's not, that's not the right one for you. Let's say you are a veteran-owned business, then Veterans Day is going to be a pretty critical piece to your marketing campaign, because that's representative of your business and your brand, and so on and so forth. So the very first thing you want to do is go through this calendar, pick out the holidays that are right for you and your business, that align with your mission, and that align with your client base. The next one we have right after Thanksgiving, we have the Black Friday. We then have Small Business Saturday. We have Cyber Monday. We have Giving Tuesday. We have Hanukkah. We have winter solstice, we have Christmas Eve, we have Christmas Day, we have Kwanzaa. So as you can see, these holidays start adding up, and all of a sudden there's lots and lots of different opportunities to take advantage of the holiday season to leverage for your marketing strategy. One quick note that sometimes is overlooked is what day the holiday is actually celebrated or observed from a business standpoint. So let's say you're running a Christmas Eve sale, you want to make sure that you actually run that this year on the 23rd of December. Because that's when, if it's an in-store promotion, because it's likely that that's the last day that the store might be open before the actual holiday day off, or so on and so forth. But just make sure you're looking at those store hours and aligning your promotions with the day that the holiday actually falls and when the business is open. Then we move into the end of December. We have Christmas Eve, we have New Year's Day, we head into Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and then Chinese New Year. And I threw in Chinese New Year because I read a statistic the other day that 20% of the population observes this holiday. It's a pretty significant portion. And so sometimes when we think about holidays that we may not personally be connected to, it might be interesting to think about how our client base or customer base might be related to those holidays. So again, thinking outside the box, looking at other calendar dates. So there's a lot of awareness type holidays. So if you think about October, National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, things that you could leverage. I didn't include them in this calendar, but what you want to do is start thinking about things like that that might also complement and supplement these holidays that we're picking out during this really crazy and busy jam-packed season. Okay, so after you've selected your holidays that align with your brand, and you've decided that you're going to focus on running promotions and include them in your social media marketing, we need to confirm the channels that you're going to be using. Of course, hopefully you already have those picked out, you're already engaged and have them active and running. The big ones tend to be the Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Snapchat. Those are kind of the big players. You want to consider your audience segments, their shopping behavior, and your own bandwidth when really firming up your social media strategy for the holidays. If you have one or two platforms that you're already actively engaged in, go ahead and stick with those. That's a good way to go ahead and build momentum and not stretch yourself too thin, especially as a small business owner. If you haven't started anywhere, then that's when it's important to think about, okay, who are my ideal target clients and where are they? And so a lot of questions that I get is, should I start a fresh channel for the holidays, or should I just stick with what I've got? And again, it just really comes down to your comfort level, your bandwidth, and where your audience is going to be. Sometimes starting a fresh channel right around the holidays is a great opportunity to dive in, because you've got the material, you've got the promotions, you've got the products, it's prime shopping. So maybe right now is the best time. On the other hand, if it's already crazy and busy, sticking with the channels that you already have active is probably a safe bet. So with those in mind, just a quick run through. Facebook is great for e-commerce, community building, local businesses in particular. I get a question, the question I get a lot is Facebook still a good place to be? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Particularly if you have a brick and mortar location. It's hard to not recommend Facebook, if for nothing else other than the SEO, which is search engine optimization. And that means that you're just more easily found if you have that Facebook presence. Instagram, also fantastic for e-commerce, trending topics, influencers. Twitter, best for flash announcements, niche topics, edgy conversations. Pinterest, again, great for e-commerce, visual brands, holiday inspiration, creating those holiday boards. TikTok, it is the place to be for video, fun, and trends. So if you've not made that leap, it might be time to put that in that column of fresh channels. LinkedIn is reserved a little bit more for the corporate and professional conversations, but it's not to say that you can't implement that in with your holiday strategy, just as long as you understand that it's not as an e-commerce platform per se, it's more around maybe the holiday networking opportunities. And not to be forgotten are YouTube, which is still a leader in video content, reach and brand validity, still is a giant when it comes to education, information, and resources. Snapchat, a lot of teens are spending money, and a lot of them are asking their parents to spend money at the holidays. So if you're targeting those teen shoppers and influencers, Snapchat is a good channel to be on. So again, that was just kind of a high-level overview, assuming that most of you have your channels already selected and picked out and active. So now let's get into some housekeeping tips and what to do with those channels. So these are things that I would recommend doing as soon as possible. So I'm going to give you a couple of slides of things to check off and create your checklist. And at a minimum, if you do nothing else from this slideshow presentation, if you can do these few things, they'll go a long way. So first and foremost, it's important to spend some time updating your channels, your profiles on those channels. So double check your Facebook, double check your Instagram account, your Pinterest account, pretend like you're a consumer, click on the different buttons, make sure that everything is up to date, double check that you have your website listed, make sure you have your the hours of operation are critical. So lots of information to just go through and really make sure that you've got everything in working order. The worst thing you want to do is create all this great social media content only to find out that there's a dead link in your profile and they can't actually get to where they need to go to start shopping. That would be not a good thing to happen. Check your buttons. So go through and make sure that you've turned on your Shop Now buttons, especially in Facebook. If you're running any kinds of promotions, make sure that you're using that Shop Now feature, because again, the mentality from here on out is buy, buy, buy. So we really need to make sure that that call to action is available and accessible. Check your website as well. Oftentimes, businesses don't have the Shop Now button in enough places. So make sure that it's really easy for your shoppers to find on your website. Also make your posts shoppable. So if you have an e-commerce website, it's important to investigate on Pinterest and Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, how to make those those posts shoppable from those platforms. There's a few steps depending on what kind of e-commerce platform you're using. Shopify tends to make it the easiest, but there's lots of options with all of the e-commerce platforms out there. Some just take a little bit more time and energy to figure out. But if you can make your post shoppable, you're increasing your potential sales revenue by almost 50%. Make sure that you've updated your Google business profile. So this is really important, especially for hours. People are out shopping. They want to be able to click on the Google profile and be confident that the store is either open. There are some trust issues from the pandemic where people just don't think that things are open as often as they are, or they don't know if they're going to be staffed. And so they tend to just not bother. But if you can make it really easy and accessible and trustworthy that you're open and your hours are accurate, then you're more likely to bring in those in-person shoppers. Sign up with Google Merchant. This is another feature of Google that helps you list your products on the Google Shopping platform. This is a very straightforward process. It's very similar to the Google Business Profile, but it's something that we're finding really helps supplement the e-commerce shopping opportunities. So be sure to take a peek at that. And you can just Google Merchant and you'll get to the landing page to get going on that. If you run a brick and mortar location, make sure you check all the maps. So this is the Google Maps, Apple, Bing, Yahoo Business Listings, all of these places feed the online Google Map listings. So we don't want anyone to have trouble getting to your location. So make sure that each of these has the accurate address for your brick and mortar location and that you are showing up on those map locations. Consider an SEO service. So social media is going to be really critical, but there's a few things that you can do to really help with your local sales. Again, if you're a local brick and mortar, if you're selling at the local level, something like Moz.com is about $15 a month, but it's worth signing up for over the course of the holidays, just so that you can improve your directory listings online, which helps you be found on Google searches. So it will help your products, it'll help your business. It's a very simple setup, again, kind of like the Google Merchant. It will just give your brand a little more power on the internet. Leading up to the holidays, start getting those reviews if you don't already have them. Follow up with friends, family, customers, anything you can do to enhance your online reputation. Get them to leave that Google review, get them to leave the Facebook review, leave the review on Yelp. Anything you can do to get those reviews out there on the internet those are gonna help your again, your brand reputation, your brand validity, and increase sales. If a customer doesn't really want to leave the review, if you could just get a testimonial and place that on your website, even that is better than nothing. So anything you can do to build up that online reputation is going to be to your advantage. It's also not too late to go ahead and start collecting email addresses if you haven't already. This is really important during the holidays to stay connected to your current and loyal customers. It's an opportunity to provide discounts and coupons and different pieces of information that's going to help the holiday sales cycle run more smoothly for your client base. We recommend using a free platform called MailChimp if you don't already have an email system in place. There's also oftentimes email programs within a website. So if you use something like Wix or Squarespace, they do have some built-in functionality that you can use there as well. But no matter what you're doing, collecting those email addresses so that you can leverage them later for some of your holiday promotions will be really important. Couple more things. So this is a pretty hefty checklist, but these are all really critical pieces that will help when you do get to the social media content, will help it not go to waste. Make sure that you add or update a privacy policy to your website. This is really, really important for consumer safety, but also for your own liability. In many places, this is now required. So from a legal point of view, if you're collecting information or not informing your website visitors of their where you stand with the privacy policy, it just opens a door for some trouble down the line. Also, Google penalizes sites that don't have a privacy policy, so it's to your advantage to add this so that you don't risk losing any spots in your ranking on the search engines. Also, if you're e-commerce or have an e-commerce site, make sure you add and update your terms of service, and then also add and update shipping and return policies. This is going to be a top FAQ, frequently asked question over the holidays anyway, so address it head on, make it very prominent and accessible to your potential shoppers so that they understand and they're not left with any questions. It will also save you time in the long run if it's already there. Not to mention that the shipping and return is also required if you have an e-commerce platform by the search engines. So again, making sure that these pieces are in place on your site. And also a quick note, I would consider extending your holiday return policy. We're seeing that because of supply chain issues, a lot of consumers are worried about buying because they may not be able to return it in time. And especially with the holidays, if you shop early, again, if there's too much of a lag time, you miss that 30-day return window. And so it just causes some hesitation in the buyer behavior if they're not sure that they can get through the holidays and still have some options for exchanges or returns on a product. So consider giving that feature to your customers as a gesture of goodwill to help that ease their mind through the shopping process. And then the next one, right now is a good time before the true holiday craziness is to improve your product and service descriptions. So anything you can go through and do on your website or on your social media channels to expand on those product descriptions, again, will save your time in the long run from answering questions, or it might even save a sale because the customer is getting the information that they need right on your website, and it's convinced them that it's the right product for them. So any details, information that you can add to those product descriptions, service descriptions right now will go a long way when it comes to the holidays. Also be sure that you check that the links on your website to your social media channels are working. Oftentimes these get disconnected in website builders such as Squarespace or Wix. And so just checking those periodically, because again, you don't want someone to be looking for more information and find some dead links and then say, oh, forget it, I'm not going to keep digging around for more to learn more about the products because I can't get to where I need to go. The patience level of most shoppers is very small. They want to click and get. So you need to make sure that those pieces are in place. And then start taking pictures now. So one of the key things that we run into with building content for social media, or key problems that we run into, is not having enough assets. So if you can start now, even if you don't think it's the right picture, or it's not perfect, or you're not sure how you'll use it, go ahead and get into the habit of documenting everything you're doing. Take pictures of the process of making or crafting or developing your products. Document the store. What is it looking like over the course of the season? Document your office. Document anything and everything that you're doing right now, because you never know when these particular pieces might just be the perfect asset to share in a social media post down the line. So you can never have enough photos or videos, little snippets. Just start a file and then also practice. Even if it is just for practice and no one ever, these videos or photos never see the light of day, you're getting into a good habits of collating and your content so that it's not a scramble when it comes time to actually post. And then last but not least in this housekeeping section is consider updating your holiday or your logo for the holidays, or adding a holiday landing page, or update your cover photos on your social media channels. So you can see some samples here. Google, if you've seen them, almost every week it seems like they update their logo to match some kind of theme or event that's happening. But it's always fun to see what they do with their logo. That's kind of this thing that marketers look for, to see what Google's doing for the season. Disney, of course, they do a whole big landing page around the holidays, and everything is magical, Christmas themed, and it really adds a festive touch. And then same thing, maybe a holiday cover photo, and it doesn't just have to be for Christmas. It could be something that for winter, it could be seasonal, it could be anything that really fits your brand. But adding the festivities into your brand during this time really helps your consumer get in the spirit as well. It helps them relate to your brand. It helps them identify that, oh, this is festive. This is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy shopping here because it's aligning with my holiday mood at the moment. And I should note here quickly that if you've not started using Canva, it is a spectacular tool that will give you some very easy access to design options. So if you're not a graphic designer or you don't feel comfortable messing around with your Facebook cover, Canva, it's just canva.com, has free templates. So you can log in, pick the template you want, make a few little minor adjustments, and then you can use those pictures very easily. So it's very intuitive. They have lots of tutorials, but if you need some graphic design assistance and you don't want to outsource it, Canva would be the place to go. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about developing your holiday messaging. So as you're working on your social media channels, and you're talk about some housekeeping things, and now the nitty gritty of like, what do we actually put out there on those channels to reach our shoppers? So the very first thing to remember is to stay consistent and authentic. So there's all kinds of gimmicks going around. There's all kinds of things, flashy things that we could put out there, but I'm very much a purist, for lack of a better word, when it comes to social media. And I think it's very, very important to stay true to who you are. If you try to do something that's completely outside of your comfort zone or doesn't align with your brand, the consumer is going to see right through that. And it just doesn't feel good, to do that. But what you can do is experiment with things that you do feel comfortable trying. Get excited. Let's try some new angles. Let's do something fun or different, for the holidays. But as long as it's consistent with your brand and it's authentic and you feel really good about it, then that's the most important thing. Another angle with when you're developing your holiday messaging is to remember how you're going to help with the shopping experience. So with any marketing that I do, I try to remember to change the word marketing to helping. I think it's really important to provide content and value in what I'm doing that's going to lead the buyer through their journey with the most helpful resources available. So let's dive into a little bit more about what I mean when I say that. So again, you're starting with the idea that everything that you're going to produce during the holiday season is going to be helpful. It's going to add value to the shopping experience. So it's important that it's sensible, that it's flexible, helpful. So one of the very first things that I do with clients when we're developing our holiday strategy is to think about, in the messaging, is to think about the different personalities that will be shopping for your products or services. In this example, I'm going to use a handmade toy store as the example. So we came up with personality A, and the decision maker is Grandma. Grandma's going to buy a toy for her grandson. Decision maker 2 might be Mom. She might reach out to Mom and say, Mom, what does little Joe want for Christmas? Would he like this particular toy? Mom might say, yes, that's great, but maybe she might even check in with the child, just to kind of make sure, discreetly, of course, because we don't want to spoil the surprise. But there's a couple of different decision makers involved with personality A, which is Grandma. However, we primarily need to just speak to Grandma in our messaging when we're thinking about her and crafting social media content. And what is it that Grandma needs to know? Grandma needs to know the costs, the age range of the toy, the shipping, gift wrapping options, the warranty, the return policy. Apologies for the typo there. And she needs to know these logistics. She needs to know these mechanics. And so through your social media channels and through your website, you can produce this information. It might be just helpful posts. It might be an FAQ section. It might be information in the about section. However you decide to share this information that makes it really easy for Grandma to access, this will be part of developing their message. So she doesn't want to have to look anywhere else other than the channel that she's connected with you on to find the answers to these things. So that's a good place to start. This is kind of the foundation of your content right off the bat. However, the creative piece comes in when Grandma says, okay, got that down, but is my grandson going to go wow on Christmas morning? That's the key. And this is where the fun part comes in. And this is where you as a brand and a business develop content that's going to assure Grandma that her grandson is really going to love that toy on Christmas morning. So start teasing out ways to show Grandma that. Will it be a fun video? Will it be pictures of other kids playing with this toy? Will it be something completely out of the box? Again, you're getting those brainstorming wheels going to say, okay, how am I going to make sure Grandma knows that this is going to be a wow gift on Christmas morning? Because that really is probably her primary question. And then from there, we start to develop the creative assets. So again, we're looking at reminding the authenticity is important, the value that you're adding to the space is important, and the emotions that you're evoking are important. Remembering that the buyer is really about what is it that's what is in the journey for them, and then also what is it in it for the recipient. So as part of the creative process, you're reassuring them of these things by, again, really staying true to who you are, but answering those questions as effectively and efficiently as possible in your social media channels. So just a quick few slides. We're revisiting those shopping personalities. So as you're developing your messaging, here's some ideas of things that might be helpful to think about. If you've identified that you've got the doorbuster shopper that's coming in for your products, a helpful tip might be to create and promote deals, offers, coupons, things that are really designed to capture them, get them in the door, make that sale. Again, it's understanding that that personality or behavior aligns with your brand and your mission, but there's right off the bat that gives you some inspiration. What kinds of deals or offers can you create, and then putting them out on your social channels for easy access. And I will, instead of reading these slides to you, I think everyone, as Kelsey said, will get a follow-up to this with these slide decks. You can come back and read some of these details. So I'm just going to focus on the tips, but certainly keep track of any questions, and we can come back to this if we need to. So we've got the online shopper. So just remembering that the online shopper is pretty straightforward. You've got an e-commerce site. They're coming there to shop. They want to be able to see visuals of the products. But if you aren't an e-commerce, you can still meet the needs of the online shopper. You can do this through gift cards that they can use in the store. You can do this through information-based education. So you can still bring online shoppers to you without that e-commerce piece. It's just putting some thought and energy into, how do you translate that experience for this type of shopper? For those of you who have the e-commerce platform, pretty straightforward. The shopping connoisseur. Again, this is you're appealing to the senses, the person that needs to experience what they're buying or what they're shopping for. And again, if you're an online shop, you're going to be doing this through visuals. You're going to be doing this through virtual tours. Maybe you have some way to translate the store experience online, but you're thinking about ways to give the shopping connoisseur that feeling that they need before they buy. And again, as you're thinking about this, you're then hashing that out into, okay, how do I translate that into a social media post? In this case, it's definitely lots and lots of pictures, visuals, other people experiencing the product so that they can kind of put themselves in their shoes. But again, recreating that experience or creating that experience so that they can experience it either in person or online. The do-it-yourself consumer. So the kinds of things that are going to appeal to this type of shopper are those cheat sheets or how-to list or recipes, things that they can do themselves, but being sure to include your products or services in those guides. So they're going to latch onto that and say, oh, this is really helpful. This is great. So these are pieces of content that you can create and share out on your social media channels and that will align with this type of shopper. The artisan enthusiast. So this is someone who is really tied to the handmade, local, feel-good, smaller business consumer. This person is really going to latch on to those messages. So things that you can do to promote community and that taste of local is going to be to your advantage if this is your type of shopper. The conscious consumer. So this is someone who's really aware of the impact of their shopping. And this is where it would be really beneficial for you as a brand if it aligns to partner with some type of charitable giving or community so that you can be seen as a partner. One thing that I'm very conscious of myself with this particular recommendation is that you have to be authentic. That's not something that you're truly passionate about or that you truly care about. Your consumer base is going to see right through that. And it's not something that you should do just for the holidays. This should be something that is an integral part of your brand philosophy already, or you introduce it now and you stick with it. And again, it's maintaining that authenticity and to really build that reputation as a partner around a cause or a charity. The holiday overachiever. So these people are already on it. So what can you do right now to go ahead and get your foot in the door with them? Go ahead and start sending them out those recipes. Even if you're not in the food and industry, food and beverage industry, you can still share some favorites that you have, or that your team has, or that your staff love. Start going ahead and getting some content out there that helps them get prepared. They're going to thank you for it. They're going to be grateful. They're going to come back. But you're giving them something that they can go ahead and get their teeth into while they're ramping up and getting excited. Because if we don't catch these guys early, then we typically tend to miss them altogether. And then, of course, the last minute shopper. This is, making sure that you've got those last minute coupons. Gift cards are going to be really important for these people. Is there a way for them to order and have you send an email with that gift present? Like you're thinking of ways to make it really super easy for them at the very last minute to get your product to their gift recipient. And then, of course, the holiday entertainer. And this is the party animal, the person who loves those holiday get-togethers and is either hosting or attending. So this is, again, how can you help this person who's shopping for these events? What can you do to make them more fun and exciting? Does your brand relate to them? And maybe not. Maybe this is, this might be only relatable to a few brands that are here, to businesses that are here today. But if it's applicable, it's important to say, okay, yeah, I've got a few of those. How can I help? What can I do? And think about content that you could produce on your social channels that would help support the holiday entertainer and their festivities. All right, so we talked about these different ideas. We're starting to get some, some inspiration about what we want to share, how to connect specifically with the different kinds of shopping behaviors, really thinking about, the next few months. And one thing that I do is start with a high level bird's eye view, planning out content. So this is just an example of a spreadsheet that I use to start penciling in key dates, important things that I want to remember, some monthly themes. This is literally just an Excel spreadsheet. So you can format, create something like this very easily. But the idea is to make sure that you're organizing those topics and the flow of the content over the course of the next few months so that you have a really solid plan. So sometimes it's just a matter of identifying what promotions you might be running. And then from there, the content will be very natural because it's pretty straightforward. I'm having a holiday sale, it starts this date and that date, and then you can begin to develop content to share that across your channels. I've included on this particular sheet and calendar the blog schedule. If you're not already blogging, the holidays are a great time to start. And so a lot of people are really intimidated by blogging, but it essentially just means fresh content on your website. So if there's a place on your site that you can add some of these holiday pieces, maybe you've got that cheat sheet of how gift ideas that you want to put together, just throw that on your blog. And then when it's on your blog or your website, you can then share that to your social channels. It's an easy way to have some content on your site that's really good for Google. It also gives your social media a place to send traffic to, and it gives you some content already ready to go for the social channels. But blogging is a really great way to drive traffic to the site in addition to the products or services, because it's adding value. It's bringing people, they don't feel like they're being sold to, they're coming because they're getting something out of the content that you're producing. And the more traffic you have to your website, the better it will perform in search results and so on and so forth. So, so blogging might be a good time to pick it up if you haven't already, because lots of holiday content to share, lots of different shoppers that you can speak to and craft content for. So I do highly recommend that. There's also a space here for you to pencil in some newsletter goals. So if you haven't started sending emails out to your mailing list, the holidays are a great time to do that. For every $36 spent on email marketing, or sorry, for every dollar spent on email marketing, it's a $36 return, which is statistically and significantly higher than any other channel. So let's just say you spend $1, you're going to make $36 off of those emails. So it's just a really crucial piece of any kind of marketing. And it might be that you already see this in your own inbox. You know, there's some brands that you follow, you've seen these newsletters pop up, and they do catch your attention because they're brands that you've intentionally subscribed to, or that you have either shopped at already, and they send you the latest news or deal. And because you already have a relationship, you're more likely to kind of pay attention to that. And that's what we want to replicate for your business. We want to get your information and their latest holiday sale and promotion or information, product, service in front of them at the holidays, right when they're ready to shop, because it is prime shopping season. So once you have your calendar mapped out and you've got some ideas of what you're going to be working with for the month, so your monthly theme, any of those products or services that you want to focus on, the holidays, you've got this mapped out. Then we jump over to our day-to-day content calendar. And this is particularly important in the course of the holidays to map out the order of the content. And this is just a snapshot. Obviously, you do Sunday through Saturday and the whole month, and take away or include any of the channels that you're using or not using, but mapping out on the date and the day, what you're going to be posting about, what you're going to be sharing on the different channels, and really having as a storyline. So all of the content and ideas that we've talked about so far about those shoppers and what they're looking for, here's the chance to start mapping that out down to the actual day that you're going to be posting. And I should mention here that there are some really helpful scheduling tools that you can use, so that if you are planning your content ahead of time and you want to save some time over the holidays, you can create and schedule your content as far in advance as you'd like. Some of my favorite scheduling tools are Creator Studio, which is right in Facebook, and you can schedule both Facebook and Instagram posts using Creator Studio. Buffer.com is another one of my favorites because it's very easy to use, and it has some nice collaboration features. So if you have a team, you can easily add people to that to help you build out your content and schedule it. There's a lot of others out there like Hootsuite, there's Later.com, lots of different options. And even Canva, the tool that I mentioned for graphic design, also has some scheduling features. So do a little investigating and see if that might be a time saver for you this holiday season. So as you're putting your calendar together, you can go ahead and schedule those posts starting now. And then when the holiday rush comes, you don't have to be thinking about your content at that point. You can focus just on the engagement and the day-to-day management of your profiles. So saying that, there's still some things and inspiration and ideas I can give you for those day-to-day pieces. So I've got a couple of slides here with just some of my favorites that you might be able to take away and use in your own content creation. So as you're thinking about like, how am I going to come up with something creative that stands out from the crowd? Maybe these will provide a little inspiration. So the 12 days of something, relating it to the holiday theme. That could be a promotion or how to decorate the home, 12 different posts, different tips, but play off of these themes so that they work to your advantage. Give a DIY, show how to decorate that tree in a little video, or, and again, you're thinking of ways to relate the holiday theme to your brand or your product or services. So these are just some high-level ideas that you would want to, hash out and make it relevant to what your business has to offer. We've got the recipe posts, holiday party ideas, holiday safety tips. You can do some kind of content giveaway, which is where you're creating something like an ebook, maybe a holiday ebook, or maybe a little video yoga tips for stress relief with the holidays, because we all need a little bit of that. So you're providing a piece of content that you give away on your site, just again in exchange for getting to know a potential customer, and the idea of producing content that's valuable in the setting to keep them coming back for more. Gift ideas, create a holiday playlist. If you are anywhere, somehow related to music or video in your business, put some playlists out there. Your favorite playlist for while you're shopping, so the different ways to be creative and to show your personality. And I think it's really important that that even though we're talking about these different things and meeting the needs of the consumer and the customer, it's also really important to show your side, show who you are and help them get to know you as the business or as the business owner, if that's relevant. But again, adding some personal touches to some of these posts will go a long way too. Holiday memes, interactive content, if you get people to share posts, leave pictures, run a contest, host an interview, craft some review lists, or maybe do your own reviews of some other products in your industry or outside of your industry, and share that with your followers. Of course, your special offers, make sure you get personal, whatever you're celebrating, let that be contagious and let that shine through in your social media content. And then also product giveaways are a really big thing at the holidays. So sometimes it's a little daunting, feels a little scary to start just giving things away for free. But believe it or not, that's a great way to bring in people, because if they don't win the giveaway, but they really like what they see, they're likely to become shoppers. So it's a great way to, again, build some hype and momentum around your product or services. But just, kind of understanding the dynamics that giveaways take some time and energy to run. And then, of course, the free aspect of that. And then a couple of my personal favorites that I've seen over the years. I really like the this or that kind of posts, creating quizzes and fun holiday things like, do you like hot chocolate with or without marshmallows, this or that? And I just think it's fun. People like to just have some lighthearted fun and get engaged. And if it's relevant to your brand and it really makes sense, then they're more likely to think it's clever. And it's just that levity, so it doesn't have to be all sales and serious. We're thinking about that entertainment angle. Letters to Santa, have a letters to Santa competition. What would you ask Santa if you had the chance? And again, understanding your client base, because Santa might not be relevant to everybody, but it's just again, finding that kind of clever angle on the holiday themed promotions. It might just be enough to generate the engagement and then lead to those sales. Another favorite of mine that I saw recently was the last comment of the year. So whoever is the last person to comment on your Instagram account before the clock hits midnight wins some kind of prize. And it's just a fun engagement, and it's fun to see who's paying attention and engaging at that time. A couple of other things to remember that I just wanted to make sure don't get neglected through this process is to make sure that you're diving into the Instagram Reels. This is really critical. So if Instagram is one of your primary channels, it's almost impossible to not give those Reels a chance. And again, the email marketing I mentioned, and I have to throw TikTok in there because we're just the spending on TikTok it's a missed opportunity if you're not at least starting to think about it now, and if not for 2022, definitely for 2023. And then the last little part of this, make sure that you're running some paid ads. Unfortunately, it is a pay-to-play game. So it is nearly impossible to generate momentum during the holidays without some kind of paid ad campaign. So you want to look for a 1.8 to 5% return for the retail industry. So if you're selling products, you want to kind of monitor those returns so that you're not just spending money to be spending it. You do want those to be effective. And then remarketing ads. And this is something that takes a little practice and some tutorials to really get the hang of. But Facebook, the new Meta Business Suite and Ads Manager, has made the remarketing a little easier. So if you haven't investigated the ad campaigns on Facebook and Instagram lately, I would revisit that because it is a little more straightforward than it used to be. But remarketing is essentially adding some information to your website so that Facebook Facebook can then see who visits your website, and then it will serve up ads to those people again. And this is really, really important because a lot of people just, they're consuming so much information. They may land on your site and love it, but then they just can't get back to it because maybe they've forgotten to bookmark it or they don't remember the exact name. But if you remarket to them, if they liked you the first time because they've already been on your site, they know that, then you're increasing exponentially your options for sales. So, and then also use each platform uniquely. So best practice during the holidays is to not just create content on Facebook and have it scoot over to Facebook, or sorry, on Instagram and then scoot over to Facebook. It's really important that you use each platform individually and independently so that you get the highest return. You may be missing out on significant sales on Facebook if you're only just using Instagram and then sliding content over to that channel. And that's the beauty of the scheduling tools that I mentioned. So things like Creator Studio and Buffer take care of that problem for you. So if you're scheduling content out, you can craft the posts individually. You can use the same pictures and the same text, but you just have to format them slightly differently so that it is a unique post for each platform. And then again, just another reminder, make sure that you show your personality. What you put into social media is what you're going to get out of it. And I just can't say strongly enough that it's so important to engage during the holidays and to really make sure that you get out there and put yourself out there. And I'm paying attention to the time, so I'm going to zip through these last couple of slides really quickly so that we have time for questions. Another big question that I get is about hashtags. And so they are important. I highly recommend using them on almost all of the platforms. Facebook is probably the lowest priority, but Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok are the highest. Make sure you do your research and piggyback off of some of those holiday hashtag trends. On the next slide, there is a link here of a really great resource that I found that walks you through the importance of hashtags and how to do hashtag research. So definitely check that link out. When you get the slide, you can just go to their website. And again, really great resources out there for some free hashtag research. And then the last little section, planning ahead. So I hate to say it, but we do recommend starting 6 months ahead of time when you're planning for your holiday promotions. So we've missed that window for this year. If you're just now starting, and that is okay. There's still plenty of opportunities, things you can do to get going. But let's plan ahead. Let's go ahead and start thinking about next year, 2023. So 2022 might be a really great practice run. You can go ahead and start actually, in my next slide, maybe duplicate your efforts. So for every one picture you take that second picture that you might be able to use next year, so that you already start to generate this queue of content. So that you're not doing it twice. And actually will save you all kinds of time if you already have those pictures and the content and the graphics. So if you're already in there designing one version, do another version for next year. And even if it does change for next year, it's just good practice to get into to plan ahead. And I always tell people, look at what Target is doing, because whatever Target's doing, that's what you should be doing. And if you haven't been by any of the big retail stores lately, they already have all their Christmas stuff out. So it's unfortunately, that's just the nature of retail. And especially because of the last few years of this crazy pandemic world, we're kind of all over the place. But the sooner that you can start with this holiday prep and planning, the better. And then last but not least, it is imperative that you craft some way to measure your results as you go through the holiday season. If for nothing else, you can use that information for planning purposes for 2023. But it's very, very important to understand if what you're putting out there in social media and doing with your digital presence is actually seeing a return. Because if it's not, then you want to make sure you're changing. And if it is, you want to make sure you're doing more of what's working. But it's impossible to just know that anecdotally. You need those hard numbers, and you can get that through most of the metrics in your social media profiles. So there's analytics and insights tabs on all of them. And I highly recommend digging in and identifying the ones that are important to you. And generally, those include reach, engagement, and conversions. So if you look for those three pieces, have a plan for measuring them, and then analyze that after the season. And that is the end of today's presentation. And I will hand it back over to Kelsey and some questions. And thank you everyone for your time today.
Awesome. Well, I know that I now have an email draft with a whole bunch of notes about what the Maine SBDC is going to be doing over the next 2 months. So if you see any cute holiday memes with our logo on it, make sure you give it a like and tag Jenny in it. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Jenny. That was incredibly helpful and much more than just social media marketing. So I agree, that was great. I don't see any questions yet, but if anybody has anything, go ahead and pop those in the chat below. Can you remind me, what was the one thing that everyone should do after this session? I know it was one of the slides.
Well, I think one of the very first things is going through the profiles, just double checking those profiles for links and information hours. That's really important if you're a brick and mortar, setting up your metrics so that you can measure. So all of this hard work, we don't want that to go to waste if you're not able to measure what's happening. So those would be maybe two key takeaways right off the bat.
Awesome. We're getting lots of thank yous. Some of them are going to everyone, some of them are just coming to me. So we've gotten quite a few thank yous. So thank you to everyone all around. Awesome. I don't see any questions. You did such a good job that everyone's like, oh, I feel like I'm ready to go. I'm seeing some head nods even in the video. So I was being a little bit facetious, but good job.
Great. Well, happy to answer questions if anyone wants to send them my way later. I'm here to help anytime.
Yes. And like I said, I'll be sending out a follow-up email later with the presentation. So all of that you'll be able to access. I'm probably also going to copy the spreadsheet with the holiday schedule. We have like a slight version, but I like the way that yours is broken down to different blogs. So everyone will be able to access all of that, and all of our contact information will be in there. So if any questions come up along the way, you can feel free to reach out to either of us. We can get you headed in the right direction. But I guess it is 1 o'clock. So thank you everyone so much for joining us. Jenny, again, thank you for all of your help over the last couple of years. We are
my pleasure.
Lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you. Lucky to be here. Thanks so much.
Have a good one, everyone.